Not every curse begins with blood. Some start bright, a rare gem, a mesmerizing blue, pulled from the wrong place, touched by the wrong hands, and since then everything she touches breaks. Deaths, ruins, madness. Powerful people lost everything, families disappeared, and even today, locked behind glass, she still breathes. This is the story of Diamond Hope, the jewel that many desired, but none managed to maintain it. They say that every object carries a story, but some seem to carry something more, something invisible, but real. Something that is not on the surface, it is between the lines, in the whispers, in the averted glances. The Hope Diamond is one of these objects, a jewel of mesmerizing beauty with a deep blue tone that defies logic. But behind the brightness, there is darkness. It was taken from the mines of India in the 17th century, at a time when the world still believed in angry gods and eternal punishments. The stone, according to reports, was not just excavated. She was stolen, plucked from the eye of a sacred statue, a deity forgotten but not defeated. Since then, it has been said that the diamond carries a curse. The man who dared to remove him from his sacred place did not live to tell the tale. Jean-Baptiste Tavernier, the merchant who took the diamond to Europe, was reportedly torn apart by wild dogs. A grotesque death, like an omen of what was to come. Hope's story is marked by cycles. He enchants, seduces, and then destroys. He is not satisfied with being admired. He demands sacrifice. The diamond passed through powerful and ambitious hands, crossing continents, crossing centuries, but always leaving something behind: ruin, suffering, death. It's as if he rejects being possessed. As if with each new owner, they wanted to remember that they do not belong to this world, that its origins were a desecration, and that the debt is still being collected. Some scholars have tried to rationalize it. They say that the curse is nothing more than tragic coincidences in a chain, that it's easy to see patterns when you want to believe in them. But there is something in the eyes of those who come face to face with Diamond Hope, something that cannot be explained, a discomfort, a feeling of being faced with something that should remain buried. The beauty of the stone is as intense as it is disturbing, and even locked behind armored glass protected by alarms and guards, many say that the diamond still pulses, that he observes, that he feels. Because unlike other gems, Hope seems to have a mind of its own, like I'm just waiting for the next story, the next era. In the end, the Hope Diamond became a symbol, not of luxury, but of warning, that not everything that shines was made to be touched, and that some beauties carry an invisible price, but inevitable. The diamond is now on display at the Smithsonian Museum in the United States. Thousands watch him daily, unaware of what he has already caused. And perhaps that's the scariest thing, because when an object collects so many tragedies, so many deaths, so many screams, it's difficult to keep calling it all a coincidence. Perhaps the right question is not whether Hope is cursed, but rather, who will be the next to pay for having wanted him? After all, some curses don't end, they just rest. The first known victim was Jean-Baptiste Tavernier, the French merchant who took the diamond from India to Europe. They say he bought it for a very high price, believing it would change his life, and it changed, but not as he expected. Tavernier was found dead, in pieces, torn to pieces by wild dogs, according to reports at the time. A death too brutal not to attract attention. And then the whisper began, the rumor, the curse. From there, the diamond was passed on. But what seemed like a gift from the gods was, in fact, a warning. The hope ended up in the hands of French royalty. Louis XVI, the last king of France before the Revolution, presented the jewel to his wife, Marie Antoinette. She wore it to balls and ceremonies, without imagining that the piece would become a symbol of her downfall. It didn't take long for both of them to be arrested and guillotined in a public square. The monarchy fell, France bled, and the diamond disappeared for a while. When it reappeared, it was already known as an instrument of destruction disguised as jewelry. It was impossible to ignore the pattern that was forming. Whoever touched it lost everything. It wasn't just death that haunted Hope's owners. It was misfortune. Bankers who mysteriously went bankrupt after acquiring it, nobles who lost everything in gambling, families destroyed by sudden illnesses, unexplained suicides, serial murders. Each new name associated with the diamond seemed to carry with it a dark fate, a trail of tears. And the more they tried to ignore the curse, the stronger it seemed to become. As if the diamond wanted to prove something, as if saying, silently, "You can't own me. I own you." Tragedies were piling up, and yet there was always someone willing to take the risk. The fascination was greater than the fear. The promise of luxury, status, and power blinded those who crossed its path. But the price came later, and he was never short. The Hope diamond came to be seen not as a precious jewel, but as a test, a silent trial. Those who wished were put to the test, and most didn't survive. Coincidence? Or an invisible force charging what has been desecrated? Be that as it may, the pattern was clear, and he was just getting started. As the years passed, the Hope diamond continued to circulate around the world as a masterpiece of nature, desired, coveted, feared. Decades had passed since the days of French royalty, but the curse seemed to have never aged. Bankers bought it as a status symbol, and then plunged into inexplicable debt. Businesses collapsed, fortunes evaporated. Respected families suddenly found themselves involved in tragedies, accidents, illnesses, premature deaths. Each story fed the other, as if the diamond were not just an object, but a messenger of doom. Most disturbing was the pattern. It didn't matter the country, the culture, or the time. Whenever Hope was acquired, something bad happened. Artists who used it as inspiration went crazy. Writers who tried to record its history died before finishing the work. Even jewelers who have touched it briefly have reported strange experiences, recurring dreams, personal losses, accidents. It was as if the curse was not just hereditary, but progressive. The more the diamond was displayed to the world, the more it seemed to exact a high price for its existence. At a certain point, some experts began to refer to Hope not as a jewel, but as an object of power, an entity imprisoned in the form of stone. Those who possessed it felt for a while invincible, until the first crack appeared, not in the stone, but in their lives. Relationships crumbled, children got sick, bizarre accidents began to appear in everyday life. It was as if the diamond enjoyed playing with the victim before the final blow. And, strangely, the greater the emotional attachment to the jewel, the crueler the outcome seemed to be. Hope over time stopped being just cursed. He became a legend, and like all legends, no one knew for sure where the fact ended and the myth began. But one thing was certain: he never stayed with anyone for long. He always left. He always found a new path, a new victim. It was as if the diamond had consciousness and memory, as if he remembered every touch, every name, every covetous look, and deep down, maybe he never wanted to be owned. Maybe Hope wasn't looking for an owner, but rather justice or revenge. After all, he was taken from a sacred place. And maybe he's just waiting for the time to come back. Evelyn Walsh McLean was an American socialite, heiress to one of the greatest fortunes in the United States. Rich, influential, and eccentric, she believed she was above all superstition. When she acquired the Hope diamond at the beginning of the 20th century, she did not hesitate to wear it publicly at parties and high society events. For her, the idea of a curse was just a romantic legend, Something worthy of gossip, not reality. She even said that the diamond would bring her luck, that she would be the only one capable of breaking the curse. But, contrary to what he imagined, it was precisely then that his life began to fall apart, slowly, like a house of cards. Everything seemed normal at first, but over time, darkness began to approach. His son, still small, was run over in a tragedy that shook the country. Evelyn was plunged into grief, but tried to keep up appearances. Shortly thereafter, her husband, owner of the influential newspaper The Washington Post, began showing signs of mental instability. He ended up admitted to a psychiatric institution. The family fortune began to unravel. Amid bad decisions and scandals, Evelyn, once surrounded by luxury and smiles, was now followed by looks of pity. It seemed as if the diamond, once a symbol of power, was sucking in everything around it. The following years were even more cruel. His daughter, a teenager, was found dead after an overdose. Friends moved away. The press stopped treating Evelyn as a star and started portraying her as a tragic figure. The woman who defied the curse was now its prisoner. His mansion became a silent and gloomy place where the sparkle of the diamond no longer meant anything. She still kept it, reluctant to part with the only thing she had left. Or perhaps out of fear of what would happen if she gave it away. Some say that, at that time, the diamond was already part of her. Others believe he just held her until her last breath. Evelyn died alone, surrounded by fragmented memories of a life that was destroyed little by little. The Hope Diamond, after his death, was not sold. It was donated to the Smithsonian Institute, where it remains today. Locked, isolated, protected by layers of glass and constant surveillance. But is that enough? Evelyn's story is not only the most tragic, it is also the closest, the most recent. The curse was not in the past. It crossed generations and reached us. And who's to say that even now, the diamond isn't just waiting for someone who, once again, thinks they're invincible? Because with hope, the shine always comes before the fall. Today, the Hope Diamond rests under artificial lights, behind a thick layer of armored glass, inside a display case at the Smithsonian Institute in Washington. Tourists observe it with admiration, take photos, and line up to see it up close. Few know the story. Even fewer believe her. For most, it is just a rare jewel of incomparable beauty, part of a respected collection. But for those who know the reports, the silence around the window is too heavy to be casual. It's the kind of silence that doesn't protect. It just observes, as if the diamond were still alive, as if he were breathing in there patiently, locked, untouched. But is that enough? Is a glass dome, no matter how thick, enough to contain a curse that spanned centuries, crossed oceans, destroyed entire families? Because Hope never needed freedom to act. He always found a way to reach his targets. One touch, one look, one wrong decision. It's the kind of presence that doesn't need physical contact, just intention. And intention is what is not lacking among those who contemplate it, covet it, and fantasize about its possession. The real question is not why is it still there, but how long will it continue to sleep? The museum claims that there is no evidence of a curse, that it is all just ancient myths fueled by isolated tragedies. But what about the lights that fail right there, the failures in security sensors, the reports of employees refusing to work in the early hours of the morning near the jewel? None of this is in official reports, but it circulates as a whisper in the halls of the Smithsonian, as if the museum were just another temporary guardian, a place of passage for something that never accepted being contained. And perhaps that is precisely what makes it even more dangerous: forgetfulness. The day when no one believes in him anymore. Maybe that's the day he decides to act again. And in the meantime, He waits, shining under cold lights, surrounded by distracted glances and passing curiosities. But the diamond doesn't need to rush. He has already learned to wait. Every generation brings someone foolish enough to think they are different, that can touch the untouchable, carry the unreachable, tame the indomitable. The curse, if it exists, is not just in the stone, but in the human mind, in desire, in ambition, in vanity. And that's why it never disappears. It just changes shape. Today, hope rests in silence. But maybe, just maybe, I'm listening. And all he needs is someone to get too close. After so many reports, tragic deaths, inexplicable ruins and stories that defy logic, there is only one question left. Was this all just an unfortunate sequence of coincidences? Or are we facing something that goes beyond reason? The Hope Diamond remains a mystery surrounded by centuries of suffering, a piece of unparalleled beauty, but with a history that no other object carries. Is it possible that so many misfortunes are connected just by chance? Or is there something there, invisible, ancient, untouchable, that feeds on human desire, something that refuses to be forgotten? Some say it's all just a legend, a myth born of fear and superstition. But the truth is that not even skeptics can ignore the pattern. Ordinary people, entire families, nobles and millionaires, all attracted by a supposedly cursed jewel, and all with dark endings. Time passes, but history repeats itself. With each generation, someone dares to believe that it will be different. That can break the curse. And when you least expect it, it's already too late. Perhaps hope's true power lies precisely there, in doubt, in the human inability to ignore the inexplicable. And that's why it continues to exist. That's why it still shines. Because as long as there is someone curious enough to search his name, watch videos like this, or, who knows, even dream of seeing him up close, he will never stop acting. The curse does not need direct action. She lives in the imagination, in the whisper, in uncertainty. And doubt is your main weapon. Maybe you are safe. Maybe this is all just a poorly told story. But what if it isn't? What if, after watching this video, you have already made contact, a spark, a thought, one more look than I should have? So now I ask you, do you believe in curses? Or do you prefer to think that everything is nothing more than loose tragedies? Leave your opinion in the comments if you dare, but be careful, because they say that even saying the name of the diamond out loud can attract its attention. And if there's one thing hope has proven over the centuries, it's that he never chooses by chance. He waits, silent, lethal, ready to mark the next chapter in your story. And who knows? This chapter doesn't start here, like you.